Smart Cookie presents the Lunch and Learn series, helping motivated real estate professionals grow their industry skills and knowledge, one video at a time.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Smart Cookies Lunch and Learn. My name is Lily Bergman. I'm really excited today to be hosting Torsten Steiner. Torsten has a background in commercial real estate from both the investment side and the asset management side. And he has now been working with AI tools and also helping other companies, both in Germany and internationally, utilize these tools to improve project workflow. So we're really lucky today to have him and to talk to us about how to both use AI and automations within AI. And without further ado, here's Torsten.
Thank you for the kind intro, Lily. That's very kind. I'm very happy to be here. And thank you for joining. Yes, so you basically said already everything. I have a background in real estate, worked for some of the largest company in that space, worked for JLL and worked for Nuveen in London on the investment management side, and then switched over to the investor side, worked for a private bank and sort of know real estate from the different angles, from asset to fund level, sort of in the investment world, in the investment side of things. And after my career in real estate, I decided to start with AI. I don't think it's a surprise. In November 2022, obviously ChatGPT was released, and it was very, very clear from the beginning that I think it's going to be a major shift in the way we operate, and especially in real estate, where we operate with a lot of unstructured data. And I think this is really a great use case for AI, because the technology really now is there to take unstructured data and transform it into a more structured data or a more structured approach. And that's really the new thing. That's really kind of the data revolution that we've seen. And of course, lots of companies, also in the real estate space, are adopting this and are adopting it at different speeds. And now we started with a data room, actually. I worked with a CTO from an investment company where we built a data room for deal due diligence, exactly what we're showcasing today. But when we started in 2023, the technology, basically really wasn't there to build this off the shelf. And I think this is one of the most amazing things that we've seen over the last couple of years, that there's such a fast, movement and so much speed in the technology that now basically it's possible to build something similar, which a couple of years ago, you need lots of programmers to build this. Now you can build it just with a few clicks and with an off-the-shelf program. Obviously, there's a lot of detail in it, but I think we're going to go discuss this a little bit. So today, that's what we're going to do. We're going to look at a workflow that's relevant for real estate investing, especially, but really is relevant for the entire real estate industry. And we're going to take unstructured data and we're going to transform it to structured data using AI. So I'm very happy to get started with this. Lily, you interject if you get any questions.
I will definitely. I'm just really excited to see how these off-the-shelf tools are going to work, because I've also tried to do my own automations, but it was years ago. So I think everything has changed so quickly. It's really exciting.
Yeah, and exactly. So, a couple of years ago, when we started, I also, did the first test with automation tools. And I think now they really evolved to a different level. And there are many famous ones like N8N, but lots of other ones, which are also quite useful. And also Google and Microsoft, they're working on their own apps basically to do the same thing. So chances are, I think every viewer who works in an office environment is going to encounter some form of this in one way or the other, right? So you can use these automations to do so many things. But one of the things is sort of prime real estate example is in the real estate investment world to bring in all sort of the deal specifics into a structured Excel document or Google document, where you have sort of the top facts for the deal in a sheet. And that's what we're going to do today. And we have a sort of a hypothetical investment company that, and their expertise is investing in older office buildings, in this case in Munich, and transforming them to residential use cases. Okay. So it's a conversion from office to residential. And so we are assessing if our deal is appropriate for that. So we have the input, which is typical data from the brokerages and other companies. And what we are trying to extract is we're going to, so we need some key facts around the deal that we want to have it in our Excel in sort of our format. And we're also trying to basically assess if this is a possible candidate for conversion. So we're basically trying to create this short or long list for our deal pipeline call that we have every week, and we are presenting our current deals. So, and of course, have the AI do these steps for us, maybe even come up with some questions for the deal. Okay. So let's start with the data room. Let's start with our step one. Right. So usually a broker will send us documents if we've sort of viewed an office building or the broker shares an idea about a possible investment for our investment strategy, which is older office buildings in Munich. So we've received sort of a broker teaser, we've received a rent roll in Excel, and we've received some of our external partners also send us some PDF documents. On top of that, we have some email exchanges between all the parties. So we've got a lot of fragmented data that is sort of swirling around, and we kind of need to get this all in one format because an email is a different format than an Excel, and the unstructured PDF is, of course, a very different format. And now, so we can bring this together. Just for understanding, I'm going to sort of share how these look like, and I hope it's going to work. Yeah, so you can probably see this now on the screen. These are all, of course, all sort of fictitious, data. This is a fictitious deal summary from a broker. We've got some more fictitious valuation reports. So all in PDF format, and you can see they're all slightly different format, and sort of planning a note from a planning consultant and architect consultant and some ESG reports. Okay. So we've got lots of different.
Torsten, quick
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
Are you also feeding into the AI drawing, like actual architectural drawings that, like, for example, if an architect wanted to give you a quick kind of concept design of how they could turn it into a residence, would you be feeding that into the AI or more just a written summary?
That's a really good question. It really depends. I mean, in this sort of really short use case, we're not doing this because, we've got a limited time and we want to focus on the main things, but theoretically it's possible. However, sort of a little caveat around this, anything that involves graphics is usually a different AI system than anything that involves text. So the theory of that the background is that, the classical ChatGPT use case, for example, it's a large language model. So it's a model that's focusing on language. And anytime you want to have something more visual, in the background, you need to use a different model. Of course, ChatGPT and also Gemini and all these Anthropic, and they have other models within their sort of overall structure that can look into this. But if you sort of build this from scratch, you need to make sure that you have sort of a system in place that is reading images in a good way. And that's sometimes a little bit more tricky than text.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I think also it probably would take a lot more tokens is my guess when it comes to graphic.
It's great as well, because if it's quite a specific use case, for example, if you're reading out sort of building plans, you need to be instructed quite carefully about what it needs to extract or what it is like. And also there's different standards. Like this could look different in Germany than it could look in, I don't know, the UK or the US, for example. And if you use an off-the-shelf tool, which is available globally, or basic program in the US, there might be some translation issues. I think there are some startups who are focusing on that. Actually, I know that they are. They have quite specific use cases, and they usually work with architects and planning companies. So there's already specific AI companies who are focused on this area. Okay. So this is just an example of some email exchanges. I'm going to go back to the presentation now so you can sort of see it. Yeah, so we've got the data room with all sort of this different data. Okay, so we are trying to bring this into a structured format, And our goal is to bring this into a output. And this is, by the way, the rent roll. And this will also be an input for our workflow. This is an Excel, or in this case, Google Sheet, same thing. And has all the elements of a typical rent roll with the tenant name and the area and the lease break, etc., etc. Right? And our goal is to produce. This is basically our objective. This is our pipeline call. This is our final document that we want to populate. Okay, we want the AI to add one row in the for each new deal. For example, we have this new office building in Munich. We want the AI to add a row. We don't want to manually type anything in here, and ideally, bring some questions, notes to this deal. Right? This might seem like a very small use case, but you've seen our data room. It's pretty diverse. There's many different formats. You need to look and click through so many things. If this is automated, and if you could repeat this many times, this will really save you time and also standardize the process. Because sometimes when one analyst is doing it, they might have a different focus than another person who's doing it. If the AI is always running the system, there's a standardization element. Okay. So we go back to presentation and right before we jump into the actual building of our AI or of our automation, I just want to share, sort of visualize again what we're doing. Right, I'll come back to this, but it's really clear because people haven't worked with this. I think that's quite helpful again. First, we've got the source documents. These are all the documents that I just shared with you. Okay. Then in the next step, we're going to have an AI layer on top of this, which will process these documents, which will read these documents and analyze them, okay, with the typical AI. And then we have the automation kick in again and bring in these steps or these sort of results from the AI and filter it into our Excel or into our Google Sheet, okay? So these are the 3 steps that we're doing. Right. And as I said before, this is a use case for real estate investing. But of course, within real estate, there are many use cases like this, taking unstructured data, bringing it into structured data, also reporting in the legal field, of course, any contracts, any rental contracts, obviously, sales contracts, but also in general sales, qualify leads and, help you sort of automate your whole system. So there are many use cases across real estate and, of course, okay. So if there are no further questions, we'll start with the actual automation. So this is a program that's called Relay. There are many other programs. I'm using these programs because it's very easy to showcase. If you want to do it a little bit more complex, I recommend N8N. They're quite good. And also, as I said before, there's Google and there's Windows and many other ones who have sort of similar tools. The advantage of using a system which in Windows or Google, that of course it's already linked to all your shared folders or SharePoint in the case of Microsoft, right? In this case, we're gonna do it a very traditional way. In every sort of automation software, you need to add a trigger. What happens, how it's triggered. This could be if a new file gets added to a folder, if you're in Microsoft or something, or if you receive this email from a certain email address. But in our case, we're going to do it manual. We're going to do a manual trigger, and we're going to do a data input, which is manual. And we have a lot of PDF documents. So I'm going to name this PDF documents. And we also have an Excel document, right? So this is the rent roll. The PDF is all the reports, the brokerage stuff that we receive. So these can be, it's optional to have these in multiple documents. Okay, so we have these types of things. Okay, so this is our first step. And the second step, we'll already run the AI and we'll do a sort of a custom prompt. I kind of want to this is now where we extract the data. So we receive all the PDF and the Excel file, and we're going to extract the data that's relevant for us. That's very specific for us. Okay. And I have written a couple of prompts for this very case. We don't really have enough time to go into the very details of the prompt design. I can talk for hours on that as well, but this is our extraction step. And this is really sort of a very simple step a very simple prompt. This can be much more complicated. There can be many more steps to make it better and ensure the quality, and there could be a quality control step. This is really just to showcase the potential. Okay, so I want you not to take this as as the gospel. You can see that I've pasted the prompt in here, and there's already an AI enabled in this platform, so it sort of filters out the stuff that we are writing in the prompt as sort of more structured output. Okay, I think in the background there's a programming language, but not going to go into too much detail. Of course, every data extract that we have, we can specify if it's a number, if it's a text field, or date, or something, and you can see it on the right. We've got different fields, and this is, for example, text. This is going to be number, building size, asking price is going to be number. Yeah, so you can see sort of the different results. Okay, we are using default as ChatGPT. I don't really like this for the very first extraction step. I'm going to use Gemini 3.1 Pro. There's pluses and minuses for every model, but I think for extraction, in my experience, Gemini does quite a good job. Okay, so this is from Google, the AI. So you can see this is an automation platform where many AI systems link in, and you can pick and choose which one. Okay. That's right. Now we've done the extraction. So let's go to the next step. We are not done yet. We want to do some more. We are going to do another custom AI flow, and go back to my prompt, Word document. And we kind of want to use the AI to score to score the potential of the conversion from office to residential use case. Okay, so this is a prompt that is scoring the resi conversion, and you can see we've got a location score, a planning score, physical score, lease score, sustainability score. This is using the results from the first step already to look into this. Okay. This is a very simple prompt. As I say, this is just for showcase. If this is going to be deployed in an actual real life scenario, it would have to be much more detailed. Okay. We are going to put in the inputs, data from previous steps, extraction step. Yeah, we've got that already. Just make sure it's activated. Yeah, should work. Let's see if we have the data from previous input. Yeah. So, okay. So one last AI we want to put in is the questions for the asset. This is the last prompt we're going to put in, and then we're going to start running this thing. Okay. Now I'm going to keep this at at ChatGPT for the last step, the last two steps. It's going to pass in the prompt as well. It's analyzing it. This is the questions for the asset. Question for the asset. Okay. So it's again automatically doing what our output should be. Okay. We are using data from previous steps, and we also want the extraction step. Okay. So let's go to the final step, which is the filling up the Google Sheet or the Excel. We have Google in this case. So we want to add a row to our Google Sheet. So I click add a row to Google Sheet. Now I need to select the sheet. This is connected to my Drive. So I can select any Google Sheets that I have, and I've set up the sheet which I was sharing you before. We have the pipeline. And we also have actually one tab which is called conversion score, I think. So I'm going to add one more. First of all, I'm going to need to configure this. These are all the fields that are in the Google Sheet. These are all the column names. It will take some time, but we will have to sort of add them here and then link this back to our AI results. You can see the AI results here. You can manually click them, but I'm going to show you, how we can make this quicker as well. I just want to add one more Google Sheet, add row to sheet, and then demo, pipeline automation ready, and then conversion check. Okay, so this is our second one, bottom of the sheet. Yeah. Okay, so we have got our two tabs that we want to fill, and now I am going to actually help ask the AI for help, because there are so many fields here that will take so much time to fill this in. So there's actually an AI assistant that we can ask and say in step 5 and 6. So we've got 5 and 6 and the correct or data, or at the correct data output from the steps 2, 3, and 4. Make sure everything is linked correctly. And let's just see what happens. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, as it is always with AI, but sometimes you just have to follow up with another prompt and then it might do it, right? So, now it's going in and populating all this, hopefully, and then we'll see, and then we'll run it, okay? So this will just take a second, and then we'll run a test run. I hope we have enough time, and I hope this works, because sometimes this takes like a minute longer than you might think, but I think it's looking good. In the meantime, if you've got any questions, Lily.
So essentially, you are asking it to link the fields to populate with the fields that already exist on the sheet.
Yeah. Exactly. So the fields that already exist, that I already created in the Excel before, we just now need to link to our sort of prompt output. Okay. And this is, you can see it's done this. You can see, for example, in pipeline, let's go to pipeline. We've got the address, submarket, current use, here build, all this sort of stuff is now the name from this. This is the AI result, and the headline is how it looks in the Excel sheet.
Yeah,
Okay.
sheet.
So
So this is something typically you used to have to do manually in
Yeah,
here, for example.
yeah,
That makes it a lot more useful if you don't have to do that all,
Yeah.
especially if you have a lot of different fields that you have to fill in.
yes. It's much more useful using this AI agent. To build an AI agent, of course, is another step. The issue is you have to check and make sure it's all correct. And sometimes you only find this out when you run it. So I suppose we do a test workflow now. Okay. So we can test it and see if it works, and actually make a little comment here. By the way, we're going to do a test run now. Okay. So this is what in the beginning we did. We have PDF and Excels. So I'm going to upload. So this is my data room. So I've got all these PDFs, and you can see there's one Excel top. So I'm going to upload the Excel separately because it's a different file format. It's going to take a second to upload all, and I think we can start a test run now. So start test run, and it's running, I think, and it will take 2 or 3 minutes, I think, as well to run this thing. Yeah, here you can see the run actually, and you can see it's now in the extraction step. It's working.
While we wait for this, I have some kind of like logistical questions about these programs. I have never used Relay before. Is this a free software? I'm not. By the way, I'm not selling this software. I just want to know, like.
I'm not a salesperson or connected in Relay. I've worked with them for a longer time, and I know some of the people who work there. But this is for professional use cases. I would recommend N8N. Actually, this is very good for like testing and sort of running smaller use cases. But if it gets more techy, I would recommend N8N for simple stuff like this. You can use Relay. It's really good, and it's really easy to use, I think. So I think this is the advantage from Relay.
So it's a good starting point.
Use in the beginning. Sorry.
It's a good starting point for someone who maybe doesn't have any experience with automation, is to start with something like a program like Relay.
Absolutely. I think it's a great starting point because you understand how these things come together and what automation means and how AI links to automation. Okay. So I think because automation and AI is a different thing, and I've got one more slide on this, but first of all, we now have the result, and I really hope that this will work, because a lot of times it doesn't. Sometimes, well, it looks like it worked. Look at this. We have a new row added, and it's our property in Munich. This is this one, and it looks like it's worked. So your build is 9084, the square meter size, occupancy, vacancy, and the main tenants in there. Yeah, So it looks good. By the way, the orange is supposed to be for humans and the blue is for the AI. Right. So in this, you see that the human and the AI analyst basically go hand in hand. Let's look at the conversion check as well. This is another thing where I ask the AI to score our asset for location, planning, physical score, lead score. And let's see, I mean, you can see the score here in numbers, doesn't mean much. I think I'd want to see what they have done in writing and what the questions are. And notes, what it added was significantly discrepancy identified. Yeah, we've talked about this. And, top questions, of course, it sort of has lots of questions. So I think it's interesting for any analyst to go through these questions and just pick and choose which they feel like they have the same questions and bring in their own expertise and sort of think, if are these questions useful? And I think this is sort of a iteration process that you go back to the prompt and maybe change the prompt a little bit to get more useful questions. Okay. So this is it in a nutshell, what we have in our sort of workflow, which I showed you from Relay. But let's go back to the presentation. For me, it's important that the user sort of understands, or especially a lot of people in the beginning of the question, what is AI? What is automation? And I think it needs to be clear that there are of course different things. AI feeds into automation, but automation is its own sort of software and set of tools. Okay, and this is sort of the two things. When they work together, they can become really powerful. But I think it's important to remember that you need to check it as a human always, and that to make sure what sort of data goes into it, and sort of check it and really know what the prompts are doing. So don't really take this as a black box, but work with it and really understand each step. Yeah, this is basically it in our really short run through. Of course, there's so much more detail we could go into it, from prompt engineering to really detailed automations. I mean, I have automations with like 40, 50 steps, right? So there's many things you can make it more complicated and better, but sometimes it's just good for the understanding to know the simple things.
So I have a question for you, Torsten, about prompt automation. I mean, you obviously for this demo, you already had your prompts pre-made because it would take too long to essentially build that up as well. But did you do that in Relay as well, or is that through a different program?
I've done I basically, the process for me personally, and everyone is different, right? And prompt is also not really an exact science, but more a bit of an art, or maybe in the between area. So when I think about a workflow design or architecture, I try to think what I want to do and then write physically or in Word the things I want to have from the prompt. Uh, in sort of a draft version, then I put this into my into like ChatGPT or something else, and say, write me the prompt and make sure this prompt is, good for an automation tool, and make sure that it includes all the outputs. And then I also copy in the naming of the outputs from the Excel. So it has exactly the namings, right? This takes a bit of time, because that you need the naming match, because how would the AI know what to put where, if you don't bring that connection in, right?
Can't just upload the Excel file and say read the fields here.
You can, of course, but if you have a complicated Excel file with many tabs, you need to be very specific about what that is. Sometimes it's easier to just copy like a row out and put it in the prompt, because then it's easier. But of course, you could do that too.
And I mean, I'm not trying to get like specific here on like what tools, but basically you're saying you're using like a chat function on a large language model
Yeah, no, sure.
to
Yeah. I mean, I pay as well, so I would recommend for anyone who's using this, or many companies already have the subscription services as well. Make sure you use one that is paid and where you have your privacy settings up, where anything you put in is not being used for training the model. And once you have that in place, I would use that model to, to do all your chatting with, and then you can produce the prompt there.
And what, you mentioned earlier that companies are more and more starting to whitelist AI tools for just so that they can stay up with the speed of the market. For someone who maybe, is at a firm where they're maybe have access to one or two of these tools, would you recommend that how would you recommend that they kind of self-train, I guess? I mean, this is
Yeah.
obvious. Some companies are providing training and some are not. They kind of just give you the tool and say, please use this. So how would you go about kind of self-learning with specific tools that you're allowed to use if you were not yourself, if you didn't have all this background already and knowledge in AI, what would you recommend to someone who's kind of in that position?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on what tool you get given, right? There are some tools that are really easy to get into, and I mean, I think among them is Relay. A little bit more complicated is N8N, I think, because it's more, well, you can change more things in the background, and it's a little bit more for advanced users, but it's super useful as well. So I don't think there's one answer. I think there's a lot of good YouTube videos, obviously, where you can learn or get an intro to a tool. Yeah, but I mean, I think the reality of this is that AI is such a game changer for basically any office-based job that I think for anyone in working in the area just needs to be open and ready to learn something. And if there's a company course, a lot of companies offering AI courses or software courses, I would definitely take this. I would make sure to get as much knowledge as I can. And if you learn one automation software, there's many things you can use for the next software as well, right? Because they're all a little bit similar. Of course, the technical detail is different, but I think it makes sense to learn an automation software or to understand it at least. You don't need to be an expert. But the reason for that is once you have AI workflows in your job, you want to make sure you understand what's happening in the background, right? Because I think the worst thing that could happen is that there's this black box of AI. You put something in and then it does this automation, and you really don't have no idea of where happens, what happens, why it happens, and why maybe the result is good or bad or whatever. So I think basically it's a must that you do some sort of training either in the company or on YouTube, or you basically ask ChatGPT to help you explain this, right? So there's so many different ways you can do it.
I did notice that the model it seemed to fill out one portion that was supposed to be for human, only for people to fill out. That was whether or not it was a candidate for turning it into a residential building.
Yeah, it filled
Um,
out one cell. Yeah, it did.
yeah. So, I mean, that is analysis. Do you use AI for analysis right now? Or, I
Absolutely.
mean, right now, this is just data extraction, really.
And
And
even this use case was already analysis. Even it was already taking the step because I did also the scoring of the the property in terms of location, in terms of planning. I put a numbering score on it. That was the AI doing it, right? So this was an automation or an AI automation that did two things. It did extraction and did start already the analysis as well. But I think that the final analysis step should be human, and you should always take any analytic step that is done with AI with a pinch of salt. And this is why in the first sheet, I had this orange where I sort of want to highlight that this is where the human should look into and then fill this out themselves.
yeah, yeah, I think it can be really tricky with AI knowing where to draw that line.
Yeah, true. And it's going to be a challenge, and this line might change also in the future, right? So AI is getting better, and it can be, it can do much more analytical thinking than it could do even 2 years ago, right? So I think we need to keep having this conversation on where this line is, where the human part is, and where the AI part is. This will not stay the same.
Right. Yeah. It definitely seems to have shifted in the few years that I've been using AI. It's every iteration gets better, but then sometimes I notice that it will almost take a step back. Like in whatever prompt I'm giving it, sometimes it'll change how it responds and not for the better.
Yeah.
So you do have to keep an eye on what it's producing.
Sure. I mean, if you use a normal chat model, there is a element of randomness built into it. So if you ask the same question twice, the answer might be different, right? Might not be substantially different, but it will be different. And if you use AI through the automation software like NNN or other ones, you have actually more tools to adjust the randomness of the answer, right? Because sometimes you want the randomness and a little bit of creativity maybe, and sometimes you do not want it, right? So it depends on the task.
I don't have any other questions. Is there anything else that you wanted to go over today, Torsten?
I think I'm okay. I hope this was useful to some people. And if you've got more questions, please reach out to my email. I'll put it on here. It's Torsten Steiner at diligence.ai, or on LinkedIn, which you find me as well. So yeah, always happy to have conversations about this. And yeah, I'm interested in what people have to say to listen to this.
Thank you so much, Torsten. If you liked this video, please leave us a comment below. We're going to keep making more Lunch and Learn videos at Smart Cookie. Our motive here is we want to make sure that commercial real estate professionals are getting the professional development they need, especially as things are moving so fast right now in the market with these new tools. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
This was a recording of a live Smart Cookie Lunch and Learn webinar. If you want to attend one of our upcoming Lunch and Learn webinars, sign up at our website at www.smartcookiejobs.com for a free account.